Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I'm going to jump right into it. And this video is going to be about last night's city council meeting. So last night being Tuesday, December the 14th, it was the final city council meeting for 5 of our city councilors. Our Ward 1 City Councilor Helen Moon, Ward 2 City Councilor Kevin Morandi, Ward 3 City Councilor Nicholas Kakamo, Ward 4 City Councilor Chris Connell, and our at-large City Councilor Yuki Cohen. So that was the end of the road, the end of the term for those 5. And something that they do that seems to be tradition is they hand these plaques out thanking them for their service and time on the council, which every year that goes by now, those little ceremonies get more disingenuous each time. So when Chris Connell was handed his, I thought he was going to hand it back in the name of recycling and let them give it to the next counselor that they don't like. So all I can say about last night's city council meeting is let's hope that no prospective residents or prospective businesses saw that meeting. Let's hope that they don't see any of them, because it is embarrassing, humiliating, and it makes the city look poor. Every council meeting I see lately, they get worse and worse. And I hate to say that, but it's true. It's like, I don't know what's a good correlation for it. Maybe comparing it to a NASCAR race. Who can talk the most going in a circle? It doesn't ever seem like anything's ever accomplished except who doesn't like who. But anyway, to the counselors that are leaving, thank you for your service. I definitely want to say that. Even the ones that maybe I disagreed with on some things, thank you for your service. To all of them. You know, one thing I can say about Councilor Yuki Cohen is Councilor Cohen, I've met with her a few times during our bar and restaurant tour. I did with Mark Tully. We featured Methuselah. I've interviewed her a couple times a year or so ago during that whole situation with in the pandemic. And Councilor Cohen has never, in any conversation with me, ever said a bad thing about anyone, ever. She stays professional at all times. And you might disagree with some of the things she has said. I've disagreed with some of the things she said as far as votes she's taken. But as a human being, she's a great person. I respect her a lot. And like I said, she's never said a bad thing about anybody. And believe me, she was put through the ringer a few times. Councilors Connell and Morandi, I feel like they became a punching bag the last 2 years for a section of the city council. What they did to Chris Connell was horrendous as far as residency during the pandemic situation going on there. It just the whole... It's very obvious when you watch these, who likes who doesn't like who, and it's like the Mean Kids Club. And of course, I had people sending me screenshots of, let's say, well, I won't say anybody by name, but maybe a dozen people sent me screenshots of things being posted on Facebook during the meeting and as the meeting ended, saying things like, good riddance. And this is from people who, let's hypothetically say, maybe they're former city councilors, or maybe they're married to a department head. Who knows? But posting things like good riddance, or making fun of the way they speak or talk, or maybe a business owner in the community, an important one, referring to one of our city councilors as a serial killer. I mean, real classy stuff. I call them the Friends of Linda Club. Just real classy stuff. So part of me is glad that it's over, and I bet you some of the counselors leaving are thrilled that it's over. But it was entertaining and embarrassing. Things need to change in Pittsfield. They really do. So one of the issues talked about, and there were a few things, one of the big issues talked about was a petition brought forth by Councilor Mafuccio on this snowmobile ban. And I think a lot of you have heard me mention it a couple times. And after listening to Councilor Mafuccio get into it, what he was asking for is to take the existing state law that's on the books and copying and pasting that, basically, and that's the terminology many councilors used, into a city ordinance so it can be enforced. And that turned into a show that got confusing. Councilor Moon, the only time I heard her really speak on that was she wanted the word he and she removed from the law and changed to their to be more inclusive. And I don't think you can just change legal language like that. I think that has to be done on a legislative, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can. I don't know. But I think if it's already a state law, it would have to stay the same. And I get what she was saying. There's people who identify certain ways, but then when you look at gender identification, there's as many as 76 different gender identifications. So if you're going to list one, wouldn't you have to list all 76? So if you truly want to be inclusive, so then that got confusing. Then it got, the conversation spun into, well, we don't have the amount of police to even enforce this, which hearing that talked about in a public meeting was like, oh my God. But the reality is, when Linda Tyre, our current mayor, originally ran for mayor, the bulk of her platform was, a city of our size needs 120 police officers, and she went after her predecessor repeatedly. I have so many videos of it, it's unbelievable. Not that it matters, because even though Mayor Tyre says she's running again, I highly doubt it. I would be willing to bet on that. I'd be shocked if she's here finishes her full term. But that was the forefront of her campaign, that she's going to hire more police officers. Then when she ran for re-election, she claimed she brought in all these new officers and all these things happened. But the reality is we have 2 to 3 less police officers than we did when she took office. And it's not necessarily pointing the finger at her. She made promises she absolutely knew that you couldn't keep. Nobody could at that time. If you talk to any police officer, for decades, we've had between 80 and 90 police officers. For decades. A city of our size, should we have 120? Yes, that's what the state recommends. Have we ever? I don't know if we've ever had 120 police officers in the city's history. And maybe we did. The height of our population, I believe, was about 59,000 in 1960. Maybe we did then, but I still doubt it. And then the whole conversation spun out of control. Finally, the Snowmobilers Association, Snow Seekers, they had some people get up and speak, and one of them finally just said, look, whatever it is you guys are looking to do, we just are trying to protect our sport. On an average year, they get 6 weeks that they can go out and snowmobile. He said on a winter where there's a lot of snow, they get 8 to 10 weeks. And they're willing to put signs up, do whatever. They're not there to cause trouble. They just want to continue with their sport. It's a recreation. It brings money into the local economy. That's all. That's all they wanted. They didn't understand. It got so confusing. It was basically everyone sitting back and watching the NASCAR race of conversation. A bunch of counselors talking fast in circles. And that's what it ended up being. So where we came out of that, I don't know. I was confused towards the end. We came out of it as trying to figure out how can the police even enforce this. So it was very confusing. I think the final vote was 10 in favor, 1 against. The one against was Councilor Lampiazzi in Ward 6, and her reasoning being, how do we even enforce this? So I don't know. I don't know where that stands, other than hopefully nothing changed and nothing negative affects these snowmobile clubs. And hopefully for them, they get some snow so they can get out and enjoy themselves. And none of them wanted to do anything other than continue with their sport, their recreation. So that was that. Uh, all I can say is we need more maturity. We need the bullying to stop. If you happen to be married to a certain department head or maybe a former counselor yourself, stop. Stop with the online bullying, the name calling. Stop with all of it. All it continues to do is split up our community. And until we get things normal, I just don't know, as normal as we can with that. The mentality, the cliques in the bullying, it's worse than I've ever seen it. And I'm sure a lot of you will agree with that. It's insane. And in some of these council meetings, all you hear is excuses. I think maybe we can take the former GE site, William Stanley Park, and open an excuse factory. So we can say, look over there. It's happening somewhere else, isn't it? Isn't it true that this is a national epidemic? And maybe we can teach classes in hindsight. Some of our counselors would be good at that. They could come in as guest speakers and say, you know, what we should have done. I mean, I don't feel like anybody's doing their homework and nobody's truly willing to work with each other. The cell tower issue in Ward 4 has spun out of control. It's hard to believe we're a couple of years into this. And it's hard to believe what I heard last night when our council president kind of snapped on that when he got angry, he got mad, and at that point I almost wanted to shut the whole thing off. So all I can say is thank you to the counselors that are leaving, and thank you for your service and sitting through that for 2 years or 10 years, however long you were there. And I hope that the new council coming in, I hope that the attitude is more professional. I hope that this isn't about personal. It becomes about representing constituents and doing what's best for the city. And that's all I can say on that. That's all I can say on that is if you haven't seen last night's council meeting, don't. It was embarrassing. So anyway, the business tour continues. I have a lot of businesses I will be promoting, videos coming up this week. I've mentioned them before: ATW Accounting, Kidding Around Consignment, Currency Coffee Company, New England Dynamark Security, and Car Hardware. And that's just some of them coming up. I have more scheduled. So pay attention to that. There's a GoFundMe up that I run. It'll stay up through the first week of January. Anything you can give helps continue. It's Pittsfield Tonight. I do two fundraisers a year, one in July, August, and then one in December, January. So that's posted. I'll put it in the comments section for those who can. Another thing, real briefly, I did want to mention is Elm Street. So I received a lot of messages on Elm Street about traffic. And many of you know, across from Deming, they extended the sidewalk into, I don't know, a few feet out into the road to reduce that to one lane without a breakdown lane. Because what was happening is people coming from Elm to East if they were taking a left-hand turn onto Deming, traffic behind them was passing them on the right. And studies, I guess, the traffic study that was done showed that it was dangerous and there were a lot of accidents there over the years. That's what I heard. So they did change that to where they narrowed the road down. I received a ton of complaints from people that it was backing traffic up. And I believe it was tremendously backing traffic up during the construction of it. I've went down 2 or 3 days now and filmed for a couple hours. I filmed when school was let out. I don't really see a problem there. I think it might actually be working. So I will continue with that, but from what I've filmed and seen so far, it seems okay. And speaking of that, because that project was spearheaded, I believe, by Ricardo Morales. Last night's council meeting, when he said that the way North Street is structured right now with the bike lanes and the flexi poles, that was a big part of the conversation. Councilor Morandi asked about plowing, and Director Ricardo Morales said that it was actually easier and more convenient now having those poles there. It wasn't a problem at all. It makes plowing better, more efficient. There's less to plow. And it's great. It's never been better, basically. that one I almost fell over on. He said the plow drivers, they like it better because for the guys plowing and girls plowing, whoever's plowing, for their plowing, that it's more convenient and it's more effective, something like that. I couldn't stop laughing, and it's not funny because it's destroying North Street. So, hopefully we haven't heard the last of that. Believe me, folks, bicycles are not the future. Electric vehicles are the future. Follow the market. Even Harley has a new electric bike coming out this coming year. Trucks like Rivian, GMC has a new line. By 2030, over 30% of the vehicles on the road will be electric. It's not bicycles. And making North Street a destination for shopping and business should be what the goal is here, and destroying the road with bicycle lanes and crazy looking white poles that confuse people, and as far as the aesthetics of it, looks horrible. That's not the answer, not even close. So that's another video. So that's it for now, and like I said, if you haven't seen last night's city council meeting, don't watch it. It might make you angry. And everyone enjoy the weather, stay safe, do whatever you can to stay safe, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow.